Hi everyone, welcome to the official YouTube channel of Law Prep Tutorial. I am Saket, your English mentor, and in today's video we are going to talk about the past 6-year trends of English section in CLAT. Just to give you an overview, I have divided the video in 3 sections, wherein the first section will deal with the first 6 years, that is 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, then the types of questions that were commonly asked in these 6 years, and then your plan, as in how do you need to align your future plan considering CLAT as your target exam. The very first 2 years that we see here is CLAT 2021 and CLAT 2022. And in dono saalon mein, the common thing was that there used to be 30 questions coming from 6 passages. And these 6 passages in both these years, if you look at the distribution, we had passages from fiction or mystery. We had passages which were expository in nature, meant to explain something. They were journalistic or basically newspaper based. Along with that, they were analytical, educational, as well as socio-economic. Considering the question types were basically inferential in nature, that is the reader's conclusion based on the argument given by the author. Apart from that, we had author's thesis, that is the author's core point on which he has written the passage. Along with it, the tone or attitude of the passage, vocab and context, and literary devices or figures of speech. A core feature of this year, that is 2021, was that आपके passages जो थे ना, they were dense explainer essays, and apart from that, आपके जो, if you see the distribution of fiction passages, they are basically from Sherlock Holmes, Father Brown, and Poirot. So basically, you can understand that यहाँ पे fiction तो था, but the distribution of fiction was also hinted towards or aligned towards classic novels or classic works. Talking about CLAT 2022, this was a bit diverse compared to the previous year because यहाँ पे we had passages, they were basically historical speeches, psychology के related passages थे. We had passages from medical history, finance, geopolitical, and philosophical genres. Question type more or less remained the same, that is the author's central thesis, tone identification, vocab or rhetorical devices or literary devices. Question types were more or less the same, but yes, you can see that the distribution of passages changed. CLAT 2021 was heavily focused towards pandemic, COVID, because the preceding year we, as a world, we faced pandemic. The next year was more on historical speeches, philosophy, geopolitical essays, medical history. Medical history also can be, related to the past 2 years, that is the pandemic. The next 2 years, that is 23 and 24. Up till 23, that is 21, 22, and 23, CLAT 21, 22, and 23, you can see that the common pattern is 30 questions, 6 passages. Again, यहाँ पे भी you see the distribution. The distribution has got fiction once again. So fiction, investigative essays, investigative or journalistic essays. Apart from that, media criticism, passages on science, biographical memoir, or sociolinguistic passages. So यहाँ पे भी again you see from the last 3 years, one thing that has been common is the presence of diverse genre of passages, and more than that, the presence of fiction in one or different forms. Sometimes it's classic novels, sometimes it's fantasy fiction, and so on. Talk about 2024. 2024 also had literature, but albeit in a different form. One from modern fiction, that is Anita Desai's work. The other one was a literary criticism of Lahiri, Jhumpa Lahiri, Roy, and Shakespeare. So that's the kind of diversity you need to expect and you need to be prepared for when it comes to CLAT. Question type, again, यहाँ पे question types आप देखोगे तो central argument, the central idea, comparing views of different people mentioned in the passage, symbolism as in what any literary device, that is allegorical references that has been drawn, you can see that. यहाँ पे question types में you have using the text, applying ideas, vocab mapping, rhetorical structure. Again, rhetorical structure, figures of speech, one and the same thing. Vocab mapping, consistently coming from the last 3 years. Then 25 and 26. 25 and 26, along with CLAT 2024, had 24 questions coming from 4 passages, which is roughly 6 questions per passage. And if you look at the distribution of the genres, both these years have fiction once again. One is allegorical fiction, and in 2025, you saw period fiction from R.K. Narayan's book. So यहाँ पे the 4 passages that we had, they were pedagogical in nature, that is related to teaching, education, the methodology of teaching. It was also a literary manifesto from George Orwell, that is Why I Write, the very first passage in CLAT 2025. Along with it, it had philosophy, that is on Vivekanand's education model. Apart from that, you had antonym, synonym, that is vocab related questions, spotting details, that is factual questions. 2026, the recent CLAT that we saw, it had Bipin Chandra's excerpt. It had excerpt from Yuval Noah Harari's famous novel *Sapiens*. Apart from that, it also had an essay, a political essay from Fukuyama on the waves of democratization. It also had a fiction story from Tagore's The Hungry Stones. Question stems again फिर से वैसे लगभग ही same थे. You had a question on idiom, that is voting on their feet. I just recalled the question. It was voting on their feet. One question idiom based था. Apart from that, you had the intentions of the characters involved. So if you just look at the distribution of passages, if you look at the distribution of questions in these last 6 years, यहाँ पे you cannot expect any school-like reading comprehension. I mean, that's a very trivial thing to say also, and something that you already understand. Look at the density of the passages, how the density of the passages have changed, how the distribution of genres have changed, and not just the distribution, the type of questions that you'd expect. Keeping in mind the types of questions, these are the questions that were commonly asked in the last 6 years. The very first is big picture inferences, that is drawing conclusion. As a reader, what conclusion can you draw from the given points of the author? Then links within the text. Ab links within the text ke liye, please understand, this is not your standard school-like reading comprehension jahan pe you will find the answer mentioned as it is in the passage. Barring a year or two, CLAT has also done the same thing, kept English on a comparatively easier level wherein you could directly find the answers in the text or in the excerpt. But apart from that, you can also expect questions jahan pe the answers are not there right in front of you, but as a reader you have to be investigative. As a reader you have to be investigative with your inference capabilities, that is trying to find links in the passage, trying to jot down or trying to find joints or links between those points which are not even explicitly being conveyed by the author. So that's the kind of skill that we need to develop when it comes to CLAT. Third is author's tone and author's viewpoint. यहाँ पे author का perspective क्या है? That is his main idea. But उस perspective को deliver करने का, what is the way that the author is using? So you can also expect questions which are based on author's writing style, author's tone. And CLAT has anyway asked that in the past also, so nothing new with that. Then you have vocab and context, which is one of the, I would rather call it the favorite question stem that CLAT has to offer, be it vocab in context, be it idioms in context. And 2026 was a classic example of vocab as well as idiom in context. 2025 had roughly 25% of the questions, that is 6 questions out of 24 straight from vocab. So that's the kind of weightage or the importance that consortium lays down on vocab. Then you have fact-based questions or specific detailed questions, जहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा मेहनत तो नहीं, you just need to scan the answer by looking at the keyword that your question asks and trying to locate the keyword quickly in the questions, that is in the passage. Then you have title based questions and writing style related questions. Writing style related questions or author ke tone related questions, you can do the same process or go through the same style, that is understanding what the author is saying, the purpose of his saying. Agar purpose or main idea clear hai, to understanding the tone, understanding the writing style of the author becomes an easier task. Now, this was about the types of questions that we expect or that we see in CLAT. Before this, we dealt with the types of passages that CLAT asked in the last 6 years. Now, ab in sab ka takeaway kya hai? Like, how do you need to align your preparation when it comes to CLAT? Ab see, most of the times, it's too late when the students understand or analyze that they have a basic problem in the most basic skill required for CLAT, that is reading. Now, considering the diversity of the passages that CLAT has asked, it is pertinent that as an aspirant, we are seriously focused on the diverse genres that CLAT has asked so far. Contemporary literary, non-fiction, political, economy and history, then serious literary criticism या literary reviews, book reviews, ये भी CLAT कभी कभार पूछ लेता है. Apart from that, you have fiction maybe classic fictions, classic novels, or some recent literary works. Apart from that, we have history, polity, science and anthropology. And on the right hand side, you can see the sources. I have mentioned the sources just in case you want to go through it. Kindly take a screenshot, go through it, and make sure that you at least have the habit of devoting 30 to 45 minutes every day on at least 2 to 3 passages, or make sure that there is a diversity in whatever you are reading also. Next is map each paragraph's job. Now, this may look like a simple task to do, but the reason is clearly very simple. When it comes to questions jahan pe we need to link the passages or find any kind of link in the paragraphs, if there is any question which has to do with the purpose of the author, if there is any question that has to do with the writing style or tone of the passage, in these cases it becomes extremely important that we have an idea of what particular role does a passage or does a paragraph have to play in the context of the passage. In that case, please make sure that whenever you are reading, whenever you are practicing anything at home, you have that standard practicing or practice of mapping each paragraph. Mapping each paragraph can be according to what you understood, maybe a word or two about what you understood, and if not that way, then at least the role that each paragraph plays. So by the end of it, you at least have a structure in your mind. You at least know structurally कि author यहाँ पे passage में throughout the passage बोल क्या रहा था. Next is understanding the art of eliminating the options, eliminating wrong options. Now, most of the times what we do is we try to find the reference lines and we are not able to. In that case, just before we devote too much time into finding a reference line and then eating up a lot of time, what should be done instead is try to find out those answers जो for sure answer हो नहीं सकते. That is, try to eliminate and cut down your choices first, rather than messing your mind with 4 options. Try to minimize it. Try to come down to 3 or 2. That will make your work easier. Now you'll have to digress just between 2 options, and finding the reference among 2 options is a comparatively easier task compared to doing so with 4. Then the next one is vocab in context. Vocab in context, देखो CLAT के perspective में vocab in context is a skill that you will have to develop. It won't be something like the previous formats of CLAT, that is pre-2021 era, जहाँ पे आपसे बहुत ज़्यादा specifically synonym, antonyms या rote learning वाले vocab पूछे जाते थे. You cannot just do that. I am saying this with full responsibility कि please vocab develop करिए, vocab base develop करिए, but that should be in considering the point that your day-to-day reading and your day-to-day reading ability becomes easier. But more than that, what CLAT expects from you is that you should have the ability of understanding or deriving the meanings of the words from the passage. So that's vocab in context. And the last step, that is step 5 that you see here, it's a combination of 4 things which should ideally be a part of your preparation strategy. That is timed mock tests every week, and as and when you near the time of CLAT, make sure that this goes up to 2 or 3 also. And not just giving the mocks देने के बाद आपके पास error log और review भी होना चाहिए. That is, by the 2nd or 3rd day, you should have a clear diary of what mistakes you committed, and along with it, you should also have a review mechanism कि how am I going to correct it at least before the next 2 mocks. Third is daily reading habits. अब इतना सारा diversity CLAT serve कर रहा है, so of course you should also be mentally prepared for such passages, and not just mentally prepared. You should have that calm and composure also when you see such passages. You should not get frenzied out after seeing such passages. इसके लिए ये ज़रूरी है कि at least 30 to 45 minutes की practice या at least 2 passages should be there in your reading habit every day. And the last one, which is spaced revision. अब figures of speech, literary devices या rhetorical devices होते हैं, tone words होते हैं, writing style के words होते हैं, and there are multiple other concepts related to grammar also. We tend to read it once, or we tend to just focus on it once it is done in the class, और कई बार उसके बाद we do not go through it. So make sure that there is a spaced revision of that also every alternate day, alternate week, yeah, once or twice every month. Make sure you're doing it. And with this, we come to the end of the video. Just in case you like this video, do let us know in the comment section below. Thank you.